In the dense veil of night, the moon was but a sliver, a pale whisper in the sky, casting scant light upon the old, weather-beaten house at the edge of Elmwood Street. It was here, in this house that had seen decades come and go, that I found myself utterly alone. Mother had left earlier, her presence swallowed by the night as she ventured into the storm to aid an ailing relative. I, merely 10 and not yet acquainted with the true nature of solitude, sat wrapped in the comforting embrace of our living room, the television flickering ghostly images that danced across the walls. The wind howled like a pack of wild beasts outside, its cry threading through the cracks and crevices of our home. It was then, amidst the cacophony of the storm and the fictional horrors on screen, that the phone rang. Its shrill tones sliced through the night, startling me. With a hesitant hand, I reached for it, the cold plastic feeling alien against my skin. "Hello," I whispered, my voice barely a thread. "Hey, champ," came the reply, a voice warm and familiar, yet not quite right. "It's Dad. Open the front door. I've come to pick you up." Confusion clouded my mind. Dad? But that was impossible. My mother had never spoken of my father, his existence in our lives nothing more than a void, an absence that lingered in unspoken words and empty chairs at school events. "Dad," I echoed, disbelief tainting my tone. "But, come on, buddy. Hurry up. I don't have much time," the voice urged, a hint of impatience threading through the warmth. A shiver crawled down my spine, instinct whispering warnings in the depths of my mind. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. "Just a minute," I lied, my voice trembling. I placed the phone down, my heart pounding against my ribcage like a caged bird desperate for escape. With feet that seemed to weigh as much as lead, I tiptoed to the living room window, peering out into the tempestuous night. The street was empty, the storm having driven everyone indoors. No sign of my so-called father. No sign of anyone. Panic began to gnaw at the edges of my courage. I rushed back to the phone, intent on confronting the stranger masquerading as my father. But as I lifted the receiver to my ear, the line was dead, an ominous silence filling the void. The realization hit me with the force of a freight train. The call had come from my mother's phone. My mind raced, attempting to piece together the puzzle. Had my mother lost her phone? Was someone using it to deceive me, to lure me into a trap? Fear, cold and unyielding, settled in my stomach. Without a second thought, I dialed 911, my fingers fumbling over the numbers. The operator's voice, calm and steady, was a lifeline in the tumultuous sea of my terror. I explained the situation, my words tumbling out in a frantic rush. As I waited for the police to arrive, the house felt larger, more menacing. Every shadow seemed to move, every creak and groan a sinister whisper. I huddled in the corner of the living room, the flickering light of the television my only companion. The minutes stretched into what seemed like hours until finally, the sound of sirens pierced the night. Red and blue lights flashed through the window, casting eerie shadows across the room. The police, upon their arrival, found no one outside, no trace of the man who claimed to be my father. In the aftermath, as the officers combed through the evidence, the truth emerged like a specter from the shadows. My mother's phone had indeed been stolen, the thief using it in a twisted plot to deceive and possibly harm us. The realization that someone had targeted our family, that my mother's single status and the fact that she had children had made us a mark, sent shivers down my spine. The police assured us that they would do everything in their power to catch the perpetrator, but the damage had been done. The sense of safety I had always felt within these walls was shattered, replaced by a persistent unease that lingered like the aftertaste of a bitter pill. Mother returned home to a scene she could have never imagined, her relief at finding me safe tempered by the fear of what might have been. In the days that followed, our home felt different, as if the innocence it once harbored had been stripped away, leaving behind a vulnerability that was hard to shake. We spoke little of the incident, as if by ignoring it, we could erase it from existence. But the shadows seemed darker, the nights longer, and the silence between us filled with unspoken fears. I found myself jumping at the slightest sound, the memory of that night etched into my mind like a scar. Sleep was elusive, chased away by nightmares that replayed the events over and over, each time with a different, more terrifying ending. In an attempt to reclaim some semblance of normalcy, we changed our routines, installed new locks, and even considered moving. But the root of the fear remained, a constant reminder of our vulnerability. As days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, the incident receded into the background, a dark chapter in the story of our lives. But the lessons it taught us remained. We became more cautious, more aware of the shadows that lurk just beyond the safety of our home. In the end, the experience left its mark on us, a stark reminder of the fragility of security and the depths to which some would sink to exploit it. The man who had called that night, who had attempted to lure me into the darkness, remained a ghost, his motives as mysterious as his identity. But amidst the fear and the uncertainty, there was also a newfound strength, a determination to protect what was most precious to us. And while the shadows might never fully recede, and the night might always hold a hint of menace, we knew that together, we could face whatever came our way. For in the darkest of times, it is the light of family, of love and unity, that shines the brightest, a beacon of hope in a world fraught with shadows.